Howdy cowpokes. You know, space is filled with desperados, lonesome wanderers out on their own, outlaws, killers, gamblers, thieves, smugglers, bounty hunters. The last frontier is a natural home for lonesome space doves, out wrangling space cows. I'm Bad Hombre Danup, and this is the Doomcast, I reckon. Let's talk about your space cowboys. Now, a space cowboy ain't hard to identify. There's usually three solid criteria. One, they're a wanderer. If they've got a home, they probably aren't real welcome there. I'm not going to do this accent the whole time. Usually they live out and sleep out amongst the stars, usually a very rickety spacecraft. Two, they're a popular loner. They're solitary and troubled, and they probably somehow got a crew of people just as messed up as they are. Three, they're an outlaw. If they have money, when they have money, they didn't get it from the lemonade stand that they run, or they're shipped at Starbucks. Get it? Starbucks. Anyway, they make their living outside the law. Pistols, or something like that, are usually the weapon of choice. It might not necessarily be a firearm, there's definitely exceptions, but usually it's something like that. Also, they're in space, which is kind of by design, because otherwise they're just a regular cowboy, which isn't bad, just not as cool. The first of these, Star-Lord, duh, because although his origins stem from the 1970s, he's the most recent addition to this list because of his reimagining as a jacketed, boot-brash, clever rogue rather than a half-human super tactician and soldier. He was more super soldier and freedom fighter than cowboy originally, but now the comic version of Star-Lord has merged with the movie version of Star-Lord in a way that draws from many of the other characters in this list, such as Han Solo, who's perhaps the most recognizable of these tropes. The scruffy nerf herder who'd run headlong into a battalion of stormtroopers, or cut open a tauntaun and stuff his best friend inside, which is a classic cowboy thing to do. He's one of the original space cowboys. From a smuggling skeptic to a redeemed rogue at his death at the hands of his own son, Solo has a character arc that's pretty hard to top. Spike Spiegel, a former criminal who faked his own death just to be with the woman that he loves. He travels the solar system in the Bebop with a former space cop named Jet Black, a gambler named Faye Valentine, a preteen hacker named Ed, and also a super intelligent Welsh corgi named Ein. Spike's smooth Hong Kong and Sonny Chiba-inspired moves, his pistol work all place Cowboy Bebop among the best sci-fi and best anime series in history. The Will is a bounty hunter in the Saga universe, a freelancer. He's got a spaceship made of an acorn, his best friend is a cat that can tell if you're lying or not, and his weapons are like a lance whip kind of thing that can be sort of like a sword, and he's also got a cape that... well, I really don't even know what the cape does, actually. Also, his girlfriend is a bare-titted spider ghost hallucination. Saga is weird, and the best thing ever. Despite the gender specificity of the title, Space Cowboyage knows no gender. Dr. Aphra is the creation of Karen Gillan in the Star Wars universe in Marvel. Imagine if Indiana Jones was also a super hacker, but also a hot chick and also an incredible criminal. She travels around with a murderous protocol and astromech droid, sort of an insane and evil version of R2 and 3PO. In Star Wars The Screaming Citadel, she recently teamed up with Luke Skywalker in the period before The Empire Strikes Back. It's pretty good. Read it. Adam Strange is kind of what you'd get if you put everything about the 1950s into one thing. He's a cowboy archaeologist, a scientist, a spaceman, and a really problematic white savior of an alien culture. Transported around by means of a zeta beam, which transports matter over billions of light years in a straight trajectory, he helps save people of Ranagar from invaders and Hawkman's people, the Thanagarians, all while winning the love of the daughter of Sardath. Mal Reynolds fought with Browncoats, which is basically like the Confederacy, except principled, ethical, and with no racism. He was sort of like a Jonah Hex, but with a much prettier face, and also in space. Years later, he and the crew of the Serenity blast their way from one end of the systems to another, and no power in the verse can stop them, short of cancellation, or a really, really, really big spike. Well, there's definitely more you might be able to throw in this category, like that one guy from the Silverhawks. He's the biggest, the best, the fastest draws, the cowpokiest, the baddest hombres, the baddest hombres. If there's a frontier in which to live free, they're out there. See you, Space Cowboy. Next time on the Doomcast.